You probably think a nuclear bomb is the end of the world. You've seen the movies, the mushroom cloud, the shockwave, the one guy heroically diving behind a refrigerator. So you assume that if every single nuclear weapon on Earth went off at the exact same second, the planet would crack open like a cheap egg and humanity would get vaporized into a fine pink mist. Well, you're wrong. Not a little wrong. Catastrophically, embarrassingly wrong. Because what actually happens is so much weirder, so much dumber, and honestly so much more horrifying than anything Hollywood ever cooked up. So let's do the single dumbest science experiment ever imagined. Let's gather up every nuke on the planet and press the big red button at once. To understand why this is so insane, you first need to understand the absolute insanity of how many of these things we built. Right now, today, there are roughly 12,000 nuclear warheads sitting around on planet Earth. 12,000, just lying there. And almost all of them belong to two countries having the world's longest, most expensive staring contest. Russia and the United States own around 90% of every nuke that exists. The rest are scattered between China, France, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea, who really wanted to be invited to the cool kids apocalypse party. Now here's where your brain starts to melt. The bombs we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the ones that ended a world war and flattened entire cities in a single flash, were tiny. Genuinely tiny. By modern standards, they were the nuclear equivalent of a sad birthday firecracker. The Hiroshima bomb was about 15 kilotons. A lot of the warheads sitting in arsenals today are hundreds of kilotons. Some are over a megaton. That means a single one of them is dozens of times more powerful than the bomb that erased a city. And then there's the Tsar Bomba. Oh, the Tsar Bomba. In 1961, the Soviet Union, in a move that can only be described as showing off to the entire planet, detonated the largest explosion humans have ever created. 50 megatons. The fireball was visible from over 600 miles away. The shockwave circled the entire Earth 3 times. They actually had to dial it down from 100 megatons because the scientists were worried they'd accidentally yeet a chunk of the atmosphere into space. Let that sink in. They built a bomb so powerful, they had to make it weaker so it wouldn't ruin the sky. That's not a weapon, that's a cry for help. So okay, we've got 12,000 of these monsters. Add up every warhead, every megaton, every kiloton, and the combined firepower comes out to somewhere in the ballpark of several thousand megatons. The numbers make your eyes water. So naturally you assume this is enough to blow the Earth in half, right? Wrong again. Dead wrong. And this is the part that's going to ruin your whole perception of how scary nukes even are. Here's the brutal truth. The Earth is stupidly, ridiculously big. We forget this constantly. We live on it, we drive across it, we complain about traffic on it, but we have absolutely no concept of how massive this rock actually is. The total combined energy of every nuclear weapon on Earth is, get this, a fraction of a single % of the energy of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. The dinosaur killer hit with the force of billions of megatons. Our entire global nuclear arsenal? A rounding error compared to that. The planet has survived being hit by space rocks that make our entire stockpile look like a wet sneeze. So no, we are not splitting the Earth in half. The Earth doesn't even notice us. The Earth is not impressed. But before you breathe a sigh of relief, slow down, because this is where it gets genuinely cursed. Let's actually press the button, all 12,000 at once. In that first millisecond, 12,000 fireballs erupt across the globe, each one hotter than the surface of the sun. We're talking temperatures around 100 million degrees in the cores of these detonations. Every nuke is aimed at something. Cities, military bases, missile silos, capitals. So in roughly the time it takes you to blink, every major city on Earth ceases to exist. New York, gone. London, gone. Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, Delhi, Paris, gone, 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 gone. Just instant geographic deletion. In the first few seconds, the death toll is beyond anything in human history. Hundreds of millions of people are gone before they even register a flash of light. The blast waves flatten everything within miles of each impact. Buildings don't fall down, they get pushed sideways and turned into shrapnel traveling at the speed of a hurricane on steroids. Anyone close gets killed by the heat. Anyone slightly further out gets killed by the pressure. Anyone further than that gets killed by the entire city flying at them in tiny burning pieces. But here is the wild part. The wild, counterintuitive, Wait, what? Part. Even with 12,000 of these going off, you could not cover the entire planet in blast zones. You couldn't even come close. If you took every nuke and spaced them out perfectly to maximize destruction, you'd vaporize a chunk of the inhabited world, sure, but huge portions of the planet would be physically untouched by the explosions themselves. Oceans, deserts, mountains, the empty middle of nowhere. The blasts alone simply cannot reach everywhere. Earth is just too big to nuke directly. Which sounds almost comforting. It is not comforting, because the bombs were never the real problem. The real killer doesn't arrive in seconds, it doesn't arrive in minutes, it creeps in over weeks, and it's coming for everyone, including the people who thought they got lucky. Welcome to nuclear winter. The thing that actually ends the world. Back in the 1980s, a group of scientists, including a guy you might know named Carl Sagan, ran the numbers on what happens after the bombs stop falling. And what they found was so disturbing, it genuinely helped scare world leaders into signing arms treaties. Here's the logic. When thousands of nukes detonate over cities and forests, they don't just blow things up. They set everything on fire, simultaneously. Every city becomes a raging firestorm. And we're not talking a normal fire. We're talking a self-sustaining inferno so hot, it creates its own weather, its own winds, its own roaring tornadoes of flame that suck in oxygen and refuse to die. These firestorms burn everything. Concrete, steel, plastic, asphalt, people, all of it. And all that burning material turns into smoke. Specifically, a type of black, greasy, sun-blocking soot. Now, a normal fire's smoke just kind of floats around and rains back down. But a nuclear firestorm is so violent, so unbelievably hot, that it punches its smoke straight up past the clouds, past the weather, all the way into the stratosphere. And once soot gets into the stratosphere, there's no rain up there to wash it out. It just stays. For years. You see the problem now. Millions of tons of black soot smeared across the upper atmosphere, wrapping the entire planet in a filthy gray blanket. And that blanket does one simple, devastating thing. It blocks the sun. Within a couple of weeks, sunlight reaching the surface drops by a horrifying amount. Some models suggest the global temperature could plunge by 10, even 20 degrees Celsius. The middle of summer starts feeling like the dead of winter. The sky turns a permanent, sickly twilight, like the world got a cheap Instagram filter slapped on it, and the filter is just death. And this isn't for a weekend. This lasts for years. So now picture the survivors. The people in the countryside, the remote villages, the bunkers, the ones who genuinely believe they dodged the apocalypse. They walk outside expecting to rebuild. Instead, they find a freezing, dark, dying world where the sun barely shines and snow is falling in places that have never seen snow in recorded history. And then comes the part that kills the most people of all. Not the blast, not the radiation, not even the cold. Starvation. Here's the math that should keep you up at night. Plants need sunlight. We learned this in like the second grade and then forgot it because we were busy. But every single crop on Earth, every grain of wheat, every rice paddy, every cornfield depends on the sun. Cut the sunlight and crash the temperature, and global agriculture doesn't slow down. It collapses. Entirely. The growing season vanishes. Crops freeze in the field. The harvest fails everywhere on Earth at the same time. And studies have estimated that a full-scale nuclear war could trigger a famine that kills 5 billion people. Not from the bombs, from hunger. Most of humanity wouldn't be killed by nuclear weapons at all. They'd be killed by an empty refrigerator and a sky that forgot how to be blue. The animals don't fare any better. The crash in temperature and the collapse of plant life ripples up the entire food chain. Insects die, then the things that eat insects die, then the things that eat those things die. Ecosystems that took millions of years to balance fall apart in a single season. And the oceans, which we lovingly poison on a normal Tuesday anyway, get hit too. Because the lack of sunlight wrecks the tiny plankton at the base of the entire marine food web. So the fish go too. Oh, and we're not done. Because while the surface is freezing in the dark, the upper atmosphere is having its own little crisis. All that heat and chemistry from thousands of nuclear blasts tears a massive hole in the ozone layer. The ozone layer, in case you forgot, is the thing standing between you and the sun's ultraviolet radiation trying to cook you alive. So in a beautiful twist of cosmic comedy, once the soot finally starts to clear after a few years, the sunlight that returns is now drenched in dangerous UV radiation. So the survivors get to choose between freezing in the dark or getting fried by a sun that can now give you a sunburn through the clouds. Pick your fighter. And let's not forget the radiation, because everyone always forgets the part that sounds the scariest. Fallout. When a nuke detonates, especially close to the ground, it sucks up tons of dirt and debris, irradiates it, and flings it into the sky. This radioactive dust then drifts on the wind and settles back down over enormous areas, sometimes hundreds of miles from where the bomb actually went off. Touch it, breathe it, eat food grown in it, drink water contaminated by it, and you're looking at radiation sickness. The horror movie kind. So even the regions far from the blasts get a gentle dusting of invisible poison floating in on the breeze. Lovely. So let's tally up this delightful sequence of events. First, the blasts kill hundreds of millions instantly. Then the firestorms incinerate the cities and pump soot into the sky. Then the sky goes dark and the planet freezes. Then global agriculture collapses and billions starve. Then the ecosystems shatter and the food chain dissolves. Then the ozone layer rips open, and then radioactive fallout coats huge swaths of the planet for good measure. It's not one apocalypse. It's like 5 apocalypses stacked in a trench coat pretending to be one event. And here's the truly insane part. The part that should make you genuinely angry. We built all of this on purpose, knowingly. 12,000 weapons, enough to trigger the collapse of human civilization several times over, and we keep them around as a strategy. The entire logic is called mutually assured destruction, which has the absolutely perfect acronym of MAD, because the people who came up with it clearly knew it was unhinged. The idea is simple. I have enough nukes to destroy you, you have enough nukes to destroy me, so neither of us attacks because we'd both die. The peace of the modern world is essentially 2 heavily armed people pointing guns at each other's heads, and the only reason nobody pulls the trigger is that they're equally terrified. That's it. That's the plan. That's been the plan for over 70 years, and it almost failed. Repeatedly. There have been multiple moments in history where the world came within minutes of nuclear war because of a faulty sensor, a misread radar, a flock of geese mistaken for incoming missiles, or one panicked guy in a bunker making the right call when every protocol screamed at him to start the end of the world. The species has survived this long, not because the system is safe, but because a handful of random individuals decided not to push the button on a really bad day. We're all alive right now because of human hesitation. That's our great protection, a nervous gut feeling. So would every nuke going off at once destroy the planet? No. The Earth would be completely fine. The rock keeps spinning, the oceans stay put, and in a few million years, new forests grow, and new weird animals evolve, and the whole place forgets we were ever here. The planet doesn't care about us even slightly. It has shrugged off far worse. Would it destroy us, though? Oh, absolutely, without question. We wouldn't blow up the world. We'd just make it uninhabitable for ourselves, and most of the things we share it with, freeze the sky, starve the survivors, and hand the keys back to the cockroaches and the deep-sea fish, who, frankly, would probably run the place better. So the next time you watch a movie and a nuke goes off and the hero walks away in slow motion, just remember. The explosion was never the scary part. The scary part is what happens to the sky 3 weeks later. The scary part is the cornfield that never grew. The scary part is that we made 12,000 of these, we know exactly what they do, and we decided to keep them anyway, balanced on the hope that everyone stays just scared enough to never find out. Sleep tight.